Hello everybody, my name is James Dearsley and I'm here today in an interview with Cem and Emre from Plentific.com. I'm here on behalf of What House Magazine, basically interviewing what looks to be a very, very interesting website. And the guys are here with me now, so what I'll do, without me babbling on about it too much, I'll let Cem and Emre introduce themselves and give them a little bit more time to sort of talk about who they are. So Emre, do you want to start us off and just explain who you are?
Sure. My name is Emre Kazan. I'm a co-founder at Plentific.com with Cem who's with me here. I'm an engineer by training. I studied mechanical engineering back in Turkey, which is where I'm originally from. And then I went on to do my graduate studies in the US in engineering as well. In 2004, I moved to England. I came to Cambridge University, worked as a postdoctoral research associate there. And then I switched to the dark side. I went to finance. I worked in investment banking for a few years in private equity as well. My last corporate job was Nomura, and I was a FIG investment banker there, financial institutions coverage, together with Cem. I know Cem from about 10 years or so as a friend, but consequently we were just colleagues as well on the same team. And we decided to do something together, found a company together. We were discussing ideas as to what sector would that be in, always with the financial service and technology slant in it. And we decided to do that in the end in 2012. I'll let Cem introduce himself as well, and then we can go into Plentific.
Hey James, my name is Cem. My background is slightly different. I basically studied corporate finance all my life. Initially born in Germany as a son to a structural engineer. So I grew up with property and all things property in my life. I initially wanted to be an architect, but my dad said that doesn't pay that much, so I also went into business and finance. Spent a couple of years in the US, did my MBA in the US and in Germany, and been living in London now for almost 10 years. Also worked in corporate finance in London and bigger banks for almost 10 years. And towards the last 4 or 5 years, basically done a couple of property development projects in London. I was a first-time buyer. I was renting for a few years. I was a first-time buyer myself. I bought my first flat. Very much saving as much as I could, and then went through the process of the home buying process, which was a big pain back then. And I sold my property after 2.5 years, having done a bit of renovation works, and basically over the last 4 or 5 years, gone through this process many times now, and helped friends and friends of friends with their questions. And as Emre already alluded to, we wanted to solve a problem that we faced ourselves, and buying a home was very problematic for both of us in terms of each step and what each step involves, and how technology and financial decision making play a role.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I always used to describe in my sort of experience with the property market, which is that the property industry is not a difficult industry to be involved with, but it's also incredibly easy to do it very badly. And I think it's one of these. I applaud you for this in the sense that you come from outside of the property industry, and you're coming in, and the word disruption is used an awful lot at the moment in terms of marketing and all this sort of stuff. But really, the platform, as I see it, is a very disruptive platform, because you are trying to look after every side of the process of buying a property, which I applaud you on various levels, really. And I think one of the first questions that I was going to come at you with was to say, sort of how very dare you come at us from non-property backgrounds into the property industry and sort of disrupt it. But it seems to me that you have that experience with building the portfolio, Cem. And is that really, did that affect your decision when you were looking at these industries to get involved with, as to why you felt property was the right way to go?
When we sat down with Emre, we basically toyed with various ideas, and our backgrounds are very much in process management, process optimization as mergers and acquisition bankers. So our job was to deal with lawyers, deal with banks and lenders, deal with clients, and we always think about buying a property as a similar transaction. There's an asset that you're buying. There's a solicitor who's helping you on the legal side. There's a mortgage broker who helps you with lending, and a couple of other parties involved. Plus, there's this very, very complicated process, which is what it is in the UK property market. And therefore, that was our first angle to say, it should be easier to manage the process in a more efficient way, in a more integrated way. That was the first angle. The second angle, obviously, is buying a property is the biggest financial investment from almost everyone in this world. And being, financially mindset and having a finance background, both of us, we thought personal finance should play a bigger role when you make a decision when buying a property. And then the point about, property experience, I mean, over the last 5-6 years, I mean, personally, I've probably done around 15 to 20 property investments myself. And on top of that, we helped many, many friends and friends of friends with their purchases and with their negotiations and moving to London. So over all these years, we met, a lot of partners in the process, being it, solicitor firms, being it mortgage brokers, being it real estate agents, surveyors, just the whole chain. And coming from the outside in, for us, it's actually very important that we don't, just go out and tell people, oh yeah, you don't need agents anymore, or you don't need that anymore, because for us, it's a very important cosmos of different interests, and that's why we're looking at integrating everyone into a, better side for the consumer, but also for our business partners to work together.
Absolutely. I think one of the things you said on there, which is, I mean, finance should become integral to a property purchase. I think slowly but surely people are coming around to the idea that it is central to it. Property is not a cash cow. It needs to be a sensible decision, and I think people need to really understand that side of it. So most definitely, I agree with you there. Look, some of the I put this out on Twitter today in terms of asking people to have a look at your site and see what they thought about it. So what I'd really like to do now is to, I think you guys can screen share, is actually to have a look at Plentific and give people an idea of what it's all about. And while you're sorting that out, I mean, one of the reasons for doing this is because a lot of the feedback that I was getting from people from both Twitter, from Google+, was that the platform is very, very informative, and that word was used several times, which I thought was a really nice sort of a key word for you guys to take on board, which is informative was primary. And the second one, which kept on cropping up, was that it was very, very easy to navigate. And really, you've sort of solved two of the biggest problems of A, the portals, and B, the websites around the world, is that they don't give the information out to people. So certainly congratulations on the initial feedback that I've received. So let's set up a screen share. How are you getting on there, Emre?
I am just starting it.
Okay, and you just get to select a box, which should...
Yeah.
Lovely, there you go. It's just coming on now.
All right. Just move to the landing page.
Look it up.
It's a buying process.
Right, I guess the first thing that we can discuss is the buying process, which is probably should be the best place to start for a first-time buyer or a property consumer. This is a step-by-step guide that talks about the property buying process, which you can also use as a to-do list as well. So instead of giving people information as you would see in other portals or other websites where they read about mortgages, they read about what is conveyancing, they read a little bit about the home buying process, etc. But then you forget about these things, right? And they're not necessarily actionable. Information is only useful when you can take action on it. So we said, okay, we have our academy section where you can read about mortgages and conveyancing and surveillance and all these things, but can we have a tool which empowers people to take action as well? And by going throughout this throughout this tool, we inform them. And we don't overload them with information. We only give them the tiny little bit of information that's necessary for them to understand that step and to move on to the next step and also take action. So this one is as 8-stage process. We also divide it into hunt, gather, invest, nest, which is a typical home buying scenario laid out in I guess, as great detail as possible. The first stage is understanding your buying power. As you said, finance is very important when it comes to property. It is probably the biggest decision anyone makes in their life, and so that's why you need to start with that rather than just fishing around and looking out for properties and dreaming about properties, because you may not actually have the financial merits to have it. So basically, you go through this step-by-step process, understanding your buying power. 1.1, know your monthly budget, right? It's very important because a lot of people are buying houses on a mortgage, and they need to be able to pay the monthly mortgages. And it just happens that we also have a budget calculator, for instance, which we will go to. And next step is calculating your net worth, how much savings you have to be able to buy a property, and your affordability. And we will come to our affordability calculator, which has some neat tricks in it.
Yeah.
The thing you do here is you can actually tick these off as well. So if you have an account, and I actually have my account here, you can then click these boxes, and whenever you do these things, you'll see these blue little ticks here, which indicates which steps have been ticked off.
Yeah, that's good.
When you go back to the website, you're not starting from scratch. So the site remembers where you left off. So that's why I said it's like a to-do list as well. It lets you know what you can do and what needs to be done as a next step. There are a few videos as well embedded in this milestone tracker or buying process tracker, which lets people know about buying versus renting a house, for instance, here, which we shoot together with our professional partners and our users. So you can basically navigate through the process by going through this step-by-step process.
Yeah, it's a great way of doing it, isn't it? I must say, in terms of a navigation side, that looks particularly easy. And I think anybody who is nervous about it, and funnily enough, I was doing a big speech yesterday, and a big debate followed in terms of the elderly. And one of the things that they were most nervous about was the moving process, because a lot of them haven't moved for a long time, and they get very nervous about it. So certainly something like this is a great tool.
Yeah, I mean, this is years of our own pain points put together on one hopefully easy to follow page. I think it's very useful sort of advice, and what we integrated into each step is also useful tools for you. So it's not just content, but it's also tools and features that we have built and integrated throughout the site. So if we go to the next one, for example, the affordability calculator, which is slightly different than probably every other affordability calculator out there, because we already thought, the old way is or was basically you put in your income, you put in your expenses and maybe your deposit, and there comes a number which the banks typically say is a multiple 4 times or 5 times your salary. While that gives you an indication, it does not help you to make to get a clearer picture on all the other costs, for example. So what you see here currently is Emre put in some dummy data here, and if you type in your annual income at £100,000 right here, which is obviously very high, but it's just dummy numbers for now. Your after tax, let's say, is 8,000. Your age is 35. Your monthly expenses are 1,884, and you saved a very big number, £229,600. So what these are 4 or 5 numbers that you need. If you click on next, what this does is the following. So on the left, this is the deposit that you told us that you have currently. What we do is to say, okay, from the deposit you have, actually £25,000 will go to stamp duty, and £4,000, £4,300 will go to all your other fees, which we sort of summarize for you. And that includes, potential mortgage advisor fees, solicitor fees, lender's fees, search packages, and so on. And these you can all edit yourself. So these are just estimates. And if you, use the tool and you get quotes, you can actually update these. So you really have a personal finance tool here that highlights of all your savings how much will actually go on all the other costs. Which means we instead of having 229,000, we have 200,000 to put down on a house purchase. And then what we say further down on the mortgage valuation side, so we looked not only on a multiple saying, okay, we can give you 4.5 times average on your salary, but we actually look at affordability as, the mortgage market review, and, the banks are doing more and more now, because we're saying, okay, the multiple here is only one aspect of, calculating a number, but then we also look at percentage of income used as a total mortgage payment and of your disposable amount. So this sounds a bit technical, but if you spend a little bit of time, you can actually understand, because we explain everything as well by clicking on it. And what this now does is basically adds the two numbers and come up with a house price on the right side, which is 625,000.
The interesting thing here is, again, this is a little technical, but the stamp duty is a function of the house price. And it is actually a circular calculation. So in order for someone to do this in Excel or in their calculators, they need to iterate over 100 iterations to be able to come up with the maximum house price that they can afford. So we basically do that here, and there's no other mortgage calculator or an affordability calculator out there that does this.
So the idea here, was to basically say, look, I have this much money saved. As a first-time buyer, you have no idea what all the other costs are. You find out later, and that actually causes a lot of stress in the process, because while you thought you could afford maybe a £200,000 flat, it turns out that some of that goes to stamp duty, some of that goes to legal costs, so you actually cannot afford 200,000 anymore. So this will hopefully reduce the stress levels a little bit. What you can also do is play around with these numbers to sort of highlight, orange and red ranges. So what we do with red is basically say, you definitely will not get this mortgage size, because it breaks one of the criteria that lenders typically on average look at. The amber color basically means, there might be some lenders that have higher multiple ratings and therefore might give you a bigger mortgage, but green is where the majority of lenders on the street would probably look at your case and say, yeah, this is a number I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, it's sorry, I was just going to talk about that mortgage side for a second, because some of the feedback I had today from one of the estate agents was that they really, really liked this option in terms of the affordability calculator. What they also really liked, and maybe you can just show this as well, is looking at the comparison as to whether or not how much could you borrow for the same as you are renting. Is that in this section, or is that in another one?
That is in a different section. It's in our rentals search section, which we will come to in a bit.
Yeah, we'll come on to that bit. But certainly, the feedback again is very good on this bit. So yeah, forgive me.
No problem. Next thing is charts. Basically, this is for, I guess, for people who are a bit more interested in what all these numbers mean, and sensitivity analysis as well. So this one says, on the base case, if your monthly mortgage payment is £1,800, and if interest rates go up or down by X basis points, what would that do to your monthly mortgage payments? Because we not only need to think about today, we also need to think about future as well. Mortgage rates may go up, and can you still afford it then? That's the question, right?
And that's a very big topic, right now. I mean,
absolutely.
Everybody's talking about interest rates going up, people defaulting on their mortgages, and especially as first-time buyers, you're very vulnerable if interest rate increases if you haven't, if you don't have any cushion in your savings, to cover that. So with this tool, we thought, if you spend a bit of time understanding how an interest rate increase could impact your monthly mortgage payments, that should be helpful for you.
And again,
yeah, it's a very responsible way of looking at it, because to be perfectly frank, I mean, you know, us in the past as agents, you know, that is almost secondary. You know, generally buyers will lead with their hearts as opposed to their heads, and I think what you're putting in place here is most likely to be, it's saying to people, look, think about it first, work out very, very correctly, or as a very, very good guide, as to what you can afford, and work on that, rather than get heartbroken when you see something that perhaps is just out of your range and it just won't go through.
True, true. And then there may be some others who are looking at the property investment as an investment rather than just buying a home only. And there's another chart which shows here from day zero, from the day that you bought the property, you can put in annual house price appreciation forecast, your forecast, and then it shows the outstanding mortgage going down as the years go by. And then you can find out in year 10 if house prices annually increase by 2%. In this case, how much equity have you built by investing in this property?
Yeah, that's great.
And there are a few additional personal financial management like tools here. There's a budget. So in the affordability calculator, we put the income number and the monthly expenses as a figure if you wanted to get a quick answer on your affordability. But you can actually add a lot of detail to the budget calculation. You can go to the expenses section, for instance, and you can write down how much you're spending on your current mortgage payment if you're a homeowner already, or your rent, your home household related expenses, and move into different categories: living expenses, financial products, what you're paying on insurance, etc. Family and friends is for if you have children, childcare expenses, school expenses, etc. Transportation expenses, leisure expenses, and we then turn this into a monthly figure, monthly expense, and give the user a little bit of further insight as to where his money is going. By showing some charts and some ratios and figures that they may not have thought of themselves. Like, I don't know, if they're spending too much on beer, maybe there's potential to cut down on beer to save up on a mortgage.
And you know,
what a sales tool that would be, to say cut down on beer. But I think, I mean, but to be brutally honest, I mean, let's say this. I mean, I suppose in theory, Plentific is proposing itself as a portal, and what you're giving there is an awful lot of valuable and informative information. So let's talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about how clients can look for properties, how they can search for properties, and what makes you different from other people as to how that search works.
Right. So there are different levels where you can enter the search. For example, one is, you know, if you spend a bit of time doing your affordability calculator and you now have a guide price of 625 that you can afford, you can now go into the search based on that affordability number. So you know, we basically go a step earlier than, you know, if you just go into another portal searching for properties saying, you know, I think this is what I can do. Here you actually know what you can afford, and you start your search with that. So on the right side where you see the min and max house price, we already adjusted that for you to say this is the range that, you know, would be potentially affordable. So this is one way of entering. Another way of just starting your search is simply like every other portal. You can just type in a area code or an area and just click, you know, search, and it will take you there. We have, you know, a map view, which you're currently seeing. We also have a list view to see properties, you know, on a list, and we do a grid view as well. So we have flexibility on different user preferences, the way they want to serve. If you go back to the map view, what you see here is basically all about location, right? A lot of people either already know where they want to live, or they know where their friends are living, they know the areas, so they can here now really focus on the location. We are in the process of helping people to also find neighborhoods in a smarter way, but I don't want to give away too much, so that's something in development. So if you then, for example, this property that you're currently seeing, 625,000, and this is obviously a quite expensive property in London. You have the full view of the property. You see all the pictures. You get a street view, map view, floor plan. What's very unique on our side, for example, you see the sold prices around the area that property is right away. So you can filter down. You can select, the last couple of months, or you can look at the last 2 years. So you can, again, do quite smart analysis around other sold house prices around the area. And then if you scroll down, on the top right side, you see the orange area. This says this property may fit your budget. Visit our calculators to check. And this is, again, an indicator that, if you've done your numbers, on each property, we will show you a green, an orange, or a red, which, is a lot more integrated than any other portal that you see. So if you spend a bit of time doing your finances, we save all that information, we use it on other parts of the site, so you don't have to start again from scratch. If you scroll down, you see nearby stations and walking distance. You see travel time to work, where Emre's pictures isn't there. You can add your partner as well, and then what we calculate is the distance to your selected postcode, probably your office space, and how long it would take by car, by bike, or public transportation. And then what, again, is very unique here is we actually built in a mortgage scenario calculator into each property view. So if you've done your numbers, great, you should see them here again. If you haven't done your numbers, no problem, you can start typing them in here. And what looks very complicated is actually very simple, because all we're asking you to do is look at the 3 different scenarios at the bottom. And we have a base case, a scenario 1, and a scenario 2. You can change the purchase price, because maybe you can buy the property cheaper for 5,000, like here in this case, or you have to go to sealed bids, and it goes up to 650,000 or 675. So we give you the tools to play with this, and then the LTV, the loan to value, is how much mortgage you can take out. Yeah. And that is also flexible in terms of playing around with the number. And Plentific does basically the rest. We calculate all your deposit requirements, the stamp duty that you would have to pay, the interest rate assumptions based on higher mortgages are, again, provided by us as an average. And then the remaining cash line, which you see all the green, indicates if under that scenario that property is affordable or not for you. So what we're trying to do is, you should become really smart about your money, because it's your biggest financial investment. And if you spend the time and you start looking for property, why not connect that, right? So, and that's what we've done here. And I think this is a very helpful tool, and our customers love this tool because it gives them instant access to their numbers while viewing properties.
No, absolutely. I mean, one of the questions I wanted to ask right at the front was basically, what sort of makes you guys different? Because there are so many portals out there at the moment which are essentially the same thing, and maybe the one factor that makes a difference between portal to portal is just the navigation system. That's about it. Right. And on this, what you're demonstrating is, in what I would term a very responsible way, is allowing people to search based on their absolute financial criteria. And arguably, as we've come into the latest, this mortgage rate review and all the bureaucracy and the challenges that is facing, as long as the buyers know that they are well within their affordability scales, then surely that needs to be thought about right when they're searching, rather than they've put the offer and they've got it accepted, and then they have to go through weeks and weeks and weeks of waiting and bureaucracy and red tape before somebody says, actually, you can't afford it.
Yes.
Because, and funny enough, I mean, I had this situation very recently when remortgaging, and it was looking at a rental place, and they said, well, actually, we've got to scale it up based on if mortgage rates hit 5%. But obviously, I mean, this was very new at the time, and it was something that we had never given thought to. They weren't really testing the mortgage at this point, and now it's every single mortgage which is coming into place. People need to realise that the mortgage companies are obliged to test. And I think again, I come back to the word applaud. I mean, I've got to applaud you for the route that you've taken in this, which is it's almost as important as the property search element is the fact that the clients need to know where they stand financially, and that to me is one of the biggest differentiators at the moment between Plentific and anything else out there for that matter. Yeah, brilliant.
Thanks for the kind words.
Right. So if we take it from here, you can then go back to a search, for example, and you see orange icons on the map, which basically means you have favorites saved. And what you can do is you can have saved searches. We send you alerts to email when properties come up that match your saved search, so you're always on top of what the latest properties are. And then we have this very unique feature here, which nobody else again does, which I don't know why, because when you go in the real world, you look at 4, 5, 6, 10 different properties. And you do want to compare, if you like this property or if you like that property better. And, it was always mind-boggling why it was so difficult to do that. And we basically just said, okay, let's create a tool where you can take exactly the same property details, but see it side by side. And that's what we call the compare button, which is basically the same information as you've seen in the single version. And you see the distance to travel, so you get a feeling of, okay, if I buy this property, then my travel time might be a bit longer. But then you go to the financials at the bottom, and then you can say, actually, this property at 699 might be a bit of a stretch compared to the other property at 650, and I actually like the second property even better. So yeah, let's go with that one. So it's a helpful tool to basically compare properties side by side.
Absolutely, and to quote an agent earlier on who stated that just quite simply, in inverted commas, the comparison feature is a great tool for buyers. So yeah, well done on that. It's really, really nice feature.
Great. Do you want to show the rental calculator?
Should we do yeah?
Yeah, while you're loading that up, may I just ask a question? How are you pulling these properties into the portal? I mean, are agents allowed to upload directly into this, and developers for that matter, or is it a scraped feed? How is it being pulled into your system?
Currently, we're working with Zoopla. Zoopla has an application programming interface, an API, which lets companies like us to get the feeds directly from them. So all the search experience and all the website elements is our creation, but the listings come from Zoopla currently.
Okay, so basically at the moment, anybody who's advertising within the Zoopla property group will be appearing on your site, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Any property available on Zoopla is available on our website.
Okay, fine. Is there any plans in the future to open it up outside of that, or is it?
This is a strategic decision that we need to, I guess, sit down and discuss going forward. But currently, we're happy that immediately we have this huge stock of properties on our website without having to build one-to-one relationships with estate agents, which would take some time. We are really focused on the end user and trying to give up the end user the best tools available and best resources to find the right property and go through the buying process or rental process, whatever process they are in an efficient manner. So currently we're happy with the relationship.
Fair enough. Okay, so rental stuff.
Right, rental stuff. So I just picked up a random property. This one's just happens to be on the market for 2,470 per month. So what we do here is, on the right-hand side, if you were to buy a property which, and getting a mortgage, for which the mortgage payments on a monthly basis is equal to the rent that you will pay for this property, what will be the price of that property? So this is the problem that we're solving here. So we're making an assumption on the interest rate and making an assumption on the mortgage term, which you can change here, by the way. And you can also change whether you want to look at this from an interest-only perspective or a repayment mortgage perspective. And the system then calculates that in order to pay 2,470 monthly mortgage payments, you need a mortgage of £460,000. And the user then either can enter how much deposit they have, if they know that, or we take, again, an assumption of 90% loan to value. and adding the mortgage amount and the deposit together, we then come up with a property price of £511,000. By the way, this is by no means we're suggesting that this property would be valued at this price, but this is just, I guess, an eye-opener saying you're going to rent this property at this price. If you were to buy a property to pay just that amount on a monthly basis, what would you afford? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. No, it does. It does. And this was picked up again. I mean, that's what people liked. I think it's a really, for me, a unique tool, because very, very rarely does anybody ever bring for sale properties alongside to let properties, because the assumption is that people are letting because they want to let. If you're able to say to them, look, here's a comparison, so for this price you can have this mortgage, etc., etc., I think that's a very powerful thing to possibly upsell. The commissions earned from sale properties are far more than they are for let properties. So agents I know would like this feature. So yeah, very good.
Good. I guess
to be honest, just if you don't mind me saying, from the press release which I read, I mean, I think what came out of it is that they said that Plentific has got it breaks it down, its features into 4 areas. And I think what you're demonstrating very well is you've got the beautiful property search experience. So I think you showed us how that works, along with the map functions, and it breaks into lists functions. You've got the fully integrated financial calculators, which, I mean, that is just evident in everything that you've done thus far. And I suppose in theory, the educational and analytical tools, which is one of the things that you mentioned, or have been mentioning along the way. But one of the things that I do definitely want to pick up on, and maybe we can, if there's nothing on this section moving forward, is moving on to what you call the trusted advisors. And I think this is a very interesting section. So what can you tell me about that?
Sure. So, the idea is basically to help users or, home buyers to make the right decisions. And finding a trustworthy and reliable partner that can help you in that process is, one of the most important aspects when buying a property. And we started to basically create this Find a Pro section, which again is, I think quite unique, because we are not hiding behind any names. We're not saying, if you want a mortgage broker quote or a conveyancing quote, give us your details and we'll send it to 4 or 5 different companies which you don't know about, but they might or might not call you. So, we're very open about our partners. We give transparency. If you can see, for example, the first one is a company called Corico in London. We highlight the full details on our site, if they've won any awards, what kind of products they're offering. We showcase their teams, who they are, so you can even go and click into their profiles if they have provided any profiles. And you get a basic idea what these companies look like, what they've done. In the next few days, we're going to go live with a review system, so customers will be able to review these companies as well. And new customers will be able to read the reviews about these companies. And for example, you can contact Corico now if you have any mortgage questions. And hopefully this will be a self-serving platform where people can rely on when they're looking for professional partners. We go a step further and say where there is a possibility to get an instant quote, we provide that in our platform as well. So if you go to Conveyancer, for example, you need a legal advisor who helps you with your purchase, for example. You can click and get a quote, go on purchase, type in the postcode of the property that you're interested in buying, find the address, right? Then put the price of the property in, and a couple of details. It's a freehold, fine. You're a first-time buyer, great. And click calculate, and you get an instant quote from our partners. And these are transparent quotes. This is the quote you pay or the price you pay in the whole transaction. You can go to see the full quote. Here's a breakdown of all the items. In this case, the legal fee is £750. We give a first-time buyer discount of 10% because we arrange that with our partners, because every help is important. You see full transparent quoting system. And then what we say is, why basically stop here? So you have the numbers here now. Our partners agreed to this. Just go on and pay with a card. You, of course, can speak to the partner before you do that. The contact details are there. You can agree with them. And then by making a deposit payment, we send the solicitor firm your contact details, your inquiry, your payment, and automatically send a search package request as well. So we empower people to move much faster in the process because we're cutting out administrative steps that somebody somewhere has to do. So you create this quote, then somebody at our partner firm would have to call you back saying, can I please take your credit card payment? And then that person would have to go to another site, download some other information, and we're cutting that out. So we are very interested in improving the process, making the entire process faster and simpler to understand. And these are one of many examples we're integrating right now. We have surveyors. We have, if you go to an architect's area, this might not be necessarily for home buyers immediately, but a lot of people want to renovate some homes, so they want to get an idea if they can do some site return or loft extension. And we're working with REBA qualified architects with great interior designers and highlight their work, so it's easier for you to find good partners.
And so on this, just to ask a question, I mean, how do people become a part of this? I presume, I mean, is it checked? Do they have to go through a certain check-in process, or can anybody come to you and say, look, guys, I want to be on your site? How does that work?
So we have set the principle that we say, look, we have very valued customers. We've gone through the process ourselves many times and dealt with very good partners, but also not so very good partners. And we want to make sure that people that come to our site as partners are either fully registered, they have they are the company that they say they are. And therefore, what we've done is a screened application process. So everybody can become a partner. So you can go to our site, say, click on Become a Business Partner. This form will pop up. You fill in your details. And what happens then, basically, when you click Sign Up Now, that information is sent to our admin team here. And they will go through all those details, check that you are the registered architect that you say you are. Make sure that if you are a mortgage broker, that you are FCA registered, and so we highlight basically, we pre-screen companies that we want to work with, and then we give them full access to their business portal, and they can then go online, fill out their business details, upload pictures, project galleries. Where there is instant quoting facility, they can provide the pricing structure, and this area is definitely one that we are quite proud about, and we will continuously improve and build upon, like things like a review system and instant payment facilities on our site. And then there's a few other very interesting things that we are currently developing.
Yeah, I mean, one of the points in the feedback today, which I received as well, is that they felt this was particularly good for overseas potential purchasers. And one of the questions that off the back of that came was about your search consultants, because I understand that as well as you've got the architects, the builders, and so on and so forth, you've also got the option for people to have effectively, I suppose, a relocation agent, or you term it a search consultant. And the question was, A, who are they, and where are they geographically?
Right. So search consultancy for us was basically a natural product to go into, because that's what we've done over the last few years on a personal level. We've been helping friends and friends of friends to find their right properties and homes. We connected people with the right agents and the right partners, and we've been approached by various families to help them find something, but also the first-time buyer who doesn't have time or understanding to find the right property. We have international buyers that are relocating to London who wants to get an idea, and it's a small team that we have. The backgrounds are very diverse, so we're not saying that everybody was a former real estate agent or is only been dealing with property, but our principal idea behind this is that we have accountants, we have property developers, we have an architect, and these are all people that A, love property, B, they are very customer focused. So, there's no selling going on with our property search agents. It's really truly trying to find the best home for you. And the service currently is provided in London and in some countryside areas where we have Nigel on board, who's been doing this for over 25 years. But the focus currently is definitely in London, because we only have this company up and running for 2 months, so we'll see how that goes. But it's a unique offering on our site, because unlike other buying agents, we look at this from a technology point of view. So we have a portal where we have a lot, all the listings. We know what properties come on the market. There's a big element of off-market properties, which for buying agents is quite important. So we have access to those as well. And we have, a team that is basically, a very focused little force to communicate and do the process on behalf of our clients.
And I mean, presumably as well, if there's any relocation agents or search consultants who want to apply to be working with you as a business partner, I presume that is still an option as well to grow your team.
Currently, we are doing the search consultancy in-house.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a small team that we have here, and we have been discussing partnerships in the past, and most likely we'll discuss partnerships again. But it's a small area which is doing quite well for us, and we have lots of different opportunities to grow this as well.
Okay, fine. And I mean, how does the cost of a search consultant work out for people? I mean, and how did you come to that? Did you review the market and where it was at, or?
Yes, I mean, search agents, or we call them search consultants, because we think they actually consult customers instead of just buy a property for them.
Yeah, I agree entirely. Yeah.
And so the way they price is very simple. We charge an administrative fee, which is £495, and we charge a success-based fee of 1.5% plus VAT. This is off the purchase price, and this fee basically includes everything relating to buying a property for a customer. So it will include basically understanding what the customer wants, their financial situation. It will include finding properties for their customer, previewing properties if they match or not. It includes communicating with real estate agents on a daily basis. It will include dealing with all the partners required, the mortgage broker, the solicitor, moving companies, and so on. So the biggest part for us is also the negotiation part. So if you have the insights into the property market, wherever you live, if it's in London, if it's in Manchester and Leeds, you understand exactly what the prices are in a street or in an area, you have the upper hand when negotiating. And I mean, most often we actually save our customers either money by being able to negotiate a better deal, or as in the recent scenarios where there are 7, 8, 9 buyers for one property, we're able to secure a property for our customers in a faster way, by preparing them much better, by negotiating much faster. So the fee is an overall fee, which is success-based. If we do a good job, we make money on that. If we don't, we don't. But we didn't have any customers so far who questioned that fee. If you compare it to the market, I think it's actually somewhere in the middle. There are some companies that are slightly cheaper. There are a lot of other companies that are considerably more expensive. So we think it's a good product for people that A, don't have time, B, don't want to deal with buying a property. There are those people out there, and C, just international either relocations or people that want to invest in a property.
Yeah, I must say, and to support you on that in a way that, in all my experience of an agent, which I've been for many years, the additional factor of search consultants, relocation agents, whatever people call them, I've always found them being a great help for the buyer, because ultimately, you know, an estate agent, their client is the vendor, and it's nice to have that sort of on the other side, which is that the client has somebody supporting them, holding their hand, organising, making sure that they're all okay and happy, and fundamentally knowing the market and knowing how to negotiate. I mean, I've never met stronger negotiators than relocation agents or search consultants ever, but because they know that you can. And so I think, in my mind, it's always been a bit of a lost leader, I think is what I've always termed them as. Okay, fine. Have you got? Is there any other little secret things that you want to show us on your portal quickly to finish this all off, or is that sort of a good place to finish on there? Do you think?
Yeah, sure. I think we can slowly finish. There's nothing secret. There are additional features and functionality and services that we're working on, and we don't wait until sort of 3-4 months and then release these features. Whenever they become available, you will see them, like the reviews functionality, for instance, that will come live in a few days, hopefully. So just to, I guess, summarize, we're looking at the property market and the adjacent sectors holistically, and we're in the business of making.
Do you want to just come off of the screen share? Just press that screen share button again, and we can see you again. Always nice to see people.
Let's see.
That's it. So just onto the Hangout there, onto the Hangout that you're on. There you go. There you are.
Okay. So yeah, we're in the business of creating innovative tools and services to the consumers of property, and also the professionals in the property sector and the adjacent sectors in the UK. And we would like to remove these friction points, and there are a lot of friction points we're already removing, but there are still a lot of others that we have ways of dealing with, and you'll see them hopefully in the future with additional feature releases. Yeah, and in the end, we'd like to create efficiency and transparency in the market.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's one of the. I've written down. I always like to try and do this when I'm talking with people discussing new things. I've written down 3 points, which I think, to me, what sum up what you've got, which is an informative website, a responsible website, a responsible portal, and an exceedingly transparent portal. And you know, thank you for your demonstration. I think it's really helped me understand a little bit more, and I hope that the feedback that I've been able to show today has also showed that, you know, there's a lot of support out there for what you're doing. So on behalf of What House Magazine, you know, thank you ever so much for all your time, and may I wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, James.
Cheers, guys. I'll end the broadcast there, and I look forward to hearing how you get on in the future.
We'll let you know.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Cheers, guys.